All right, all right. We are alive. Welcome back to Lucid. We're back for another week. I completely had a brain fart, even though I'm staring directly at an outline. I was like, I don't know exactly like where to start. So hopefully, I guess. Well, first I should say, I just want to thank everyone for the overwhelming support. When I started the channel, I know I've said this before on a previous pod that I always hoped it would grow, even though I didn't really understand like at the beginning what I was trying to grow. I mean, I knew that creative in some form or fashion, but I just started without really having a fully formed. I thought I had a fully formed idea, but I didn't. I didn't expect the channel to grow as fast. I mean, I knew that I would apply myself, but things are just going better than I anticipated. Closing in on 1,000 subscribers, so thank you very much. Like I say, it's like words. Like there's no way I can really express the gratitude, So all I can do is say it, and hope that people feel it, and that's really the best I could do. So and hopefully also you can tell if you listened last week. Last week was kind of a weird pod. It was it was a tumultuous, traumatic like time, and although the times are not much has really changed, I guess, except for my focus level is a little bit higher than it was, and I went into that some, last week about the energy levels and the red, yellow, and green, tasks or activities and that kind of thing. So I'm not going to go into all that again, but basically, just dialing that in and trying to be a little bit more conscious of like taking care of myself. So, this week is going to be much, much different. We're going to talk about primarily 3 films, really 2, but we have to give a nod, tip the hat to another. And those are, so yes, we are actually going to talk about movies this week. They're a little bit of self-help, self-care mainly, not really self-help, but Bottoms, directed by M.S. I'm going to mess some names up here. Slegman? Directed by Emma Slegman, written by Emma Slegman, Rachel Sennett, starring Rachel Sennett, Ayo Idabiri, and Ruby Cruz. The other will be a film I was lucky enough to go and see in theaters yesterday, The Creator, directed by Gareth Edwards, written by Gareth Edwards, Chris Weitz, starring John David Washington, Gemma Chan. Yeah, so that's pretty much what we're going to do. So let's get started. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time, only, maybe like 5 minutes or so. But I wanted to talk for a minute about, taking time out to, and it doesn't have to be a lot of time, but taking time just to schedule in time for yourself, basically. And people throw. I used to laugh honestly at the term self-care, and then I dated. I mentioned. I think I mentioned her in the last pod, but my last serious relationship. One of the shows that we used to watch together was Issa Rae's Insecure, and the care, which is an awesome show. If you haven't seen it, it's like a 30-minute comedy. It's available on Max. I think there's 3 or 4 seasons. I'm not sure if it's going to come back again for another one, but all the seasons of it are excellent. It's one of those that gets better every time. But anyway, not a plug for. Or I didn't mean to like go off on Insecure, but one of the things that Issa's character did in the show was her and her friend would do self-care Sunday, where they would like they would one would go to the other's house and they would do yoga and smoke weed, and I'm a big fan of both, so like me and my ex would do the same thing. We would have self-care Sundays, and I got away from that, especially with everything that went on in my personal life. So I tried to get back to that a little bit this week, and it was really good. You know, like I mentioned, I went out to the theater instead of like waiting for something to come out on streaming. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that experience when we get to the creator. But that was great. I got a cat. His name is Jarvis. It's my first ever cat. Like I said, my ex I mentioned, she had 3 cats, which was crazy. And I had a dog at the time. But now I thought, you know, I've just had bad luck with the last couple of dogs I've had. Like my lifestyle just hasn't been like really conducive to having one. So decided to try a cat, and it's working out pretty great so far, to be honest. He's fun to watch. He's super low maintenance. He's almost like a fish. And whoever invented the litter box is a genius. So yeah, very happy with my cat adoption so far. We seem to be getting along like pretty well. He was sitting on my head this morning, like when I woke up. So that was cool. The other thing is, you know, getting back into my workout schedule a little bit. I had been slacking off, like trying to get the channel and the podcast going. So I went for like a really long run this week and did some other stuff like CrossFit style stuff that I used to do. And so I'm thinking I have a personal channel, so I'm probably going to start posting some videos on that. But the main takeaway is like just, you know, take a few minutes, like schedule some time for yourself, like where you just do things that make you feel good, and try not to take yourself so seriously, because that's my problem usually. And so today, for example, I was walking through Walmart, and you know, it's October now, so they have all of the Halloween decorations out. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to decorate my place for Halloween. So I got like, now I have up these like spider web lights. They're like orange on my windows that face the street. And so it looks like I have a spider web in my window. And it's stupid and it's dorky, and I don't have a kid here. But whatever, it like makes me smile. It's like silly, so who cares? It was $5 and it puts a smile on my face when the sun goes down. So yeah, that's it. Self-care, you can't lose, really. No real like smooth way to go. But so just on to the movies themselves. Okay, so Bottoms follows two teenage lesbian girls played by Rachel Sennott and Ayo Edebiri, like I mentioned earlier. And Ayo Edebiri, people will recognize, especially if you're a subscriber to this channel, because I have some clips from The Bear. But so she plays Sydney on the Bear, basically. So super talented actress, comedian, writer. So pretty much anything you see her in, like I personally get a good feel for. And it seems like, I'm not familiar with Rachel Sennott. I'm guessing she's pretty similar, since she's a co-writer on this movie. But it's obvious. Like I saw this one in the theaters also a few weeks ago, and I literally laughed. I felt stupid for how hard I was laughing. Like I literally embarrassed myself in this theater. Luckily, like I think it was kind of towards the end of the run, so it wasn't very crowded. But I was embarrassed. But so I'm gonna play a little audio that kind of shows the setup here, where you kind of get a vibe for the film. The writing, the acting, like everything is so sharp. And then there are a couple of like, not necessarily cameos, but I think it's pretty cool. I'm a football fan, and the teacher in this class is played by retired football player Marshawn Lynch. And there's a student who, when I saw the movie, I was like, man, she looks so familiar. I had to go back and like look her up in IMDb. And it's one of the students is actually Cindy Crawford's daughter. If you remember Cindy Crawford, the supermodel, and she looks exactly like her mom. It's kind of scary. So here you go. This is the just a scene from Bottoms where the rumor is getting out of what the girls did to the football player.
Attention, the library is out of use again. Huntington shot up our remaining books, so there will be no reading again this year. Thank you.
Oh, Bernie was just so cute last night. Like, no, I can't eat a hot dog. I won't even digest it. I have to throw up. And I was like, you can have it. She's like, no, not just maybe, but not the bun. Ugh, it was really sweet. You had to be there.
I was there.
Are you serious? I got faggot number 2 this time? You're the sidekick, not me.
What's up, Ted? How's the family? Sick. Yeah, you know what to do.
Thanks.
You feel like people are looking at us, like, more than usual?
I don't know, did you period yourself?
Hey, Zoe.
Hi. Holy shit. Are you guys okay? What? Yeah, why wouldn't we be okay?
All right, kiddos. Welcome back to class.
Hey, the prep club worked hard on those. That belongs to the school.
Oh, cool. So does your vagina.
Nice try, PJ, but my vagina belongs to the government.
All right, check it out. Today I got a special lesson
So
for
how'd
you.
you do it?
Do what?
Hey, you good, man? Okay, so. Meanwhile,
Okay,
back at
so,
the ranch,
did you fight back?
today we'll be starting on.
Literally, how did it go? Did you fight back? I think you broke a lot. But you did something to him. I just don't know what the
Friend? Is it friend?
No, but like, honestly, how did you do it?
Oh my god, Annie, they went to juvie. That's how, okay?
Hey, you. Overall, bitch. This is you.
God damn it, Jeff! What the fuck? Hey, you couldn't make that analogy with your fist?
Hello, this is Principal Myers with an important Huntington update. So listen to this girl.
Last night, outside the fair, a Huntington player followed me home, pinned me against my car, and punched me in the face. And now my face is totally fucked.
We haven't faced the violence of Huntington for 20 years. They think they can get in our heads by picking on our weak and defenseless. Well, we can't let them break our spirit, folks. Keep your heads in the game.
I'm screwed.
Hey, calm down just a little bit.
Oh, great. More violence, just what this school needs.
Seriously, that's it? That's class?
Latte. Get my shit.
So class.
Hey. Josie, right? I heard you, like, beat up my boyfriend last night. So, weren't you there?
I heard you guys ate literal shit and killed girls in juvie.
Really? What did you think about that?
Excuse me. Could the ugly, untalented gays please report to the principal's office?
Guess that's you guys.
You know, so I realized after that played that I probably should have warned people. I mean, the movie's rated R about the language, but, you know, it is what it is. And I just think that I laugh so hard every time I watch it. It's so good on so many levels. Like, I think that that's what separates, like, the okay comedies from like the really great ones. The ones that you can go back to is like just how many layers there are like to each joke, and how, like, with every good satire, you know, it takes all these issues that are like so hard for us to talk about, you know, sexual slurs and you know, teen sex and, you know, teen violence and, you know, all these things, and puts them in a situation where we're confronted by it. We don't have a choice, but it does it in a way, like, at least for me, with my sense of humor, like, it makes it like where you can talk about it, you know, and you can acknowledge that it's a thing, it's a problem, and it exists. So there's not really much more, you know, honestly, to say about the film. You know, I think it took inspiration from Fight Club, which, you know, is another kind of, you know, same thing, right? Satire that exposed like real issues, and, you know, or at least its thoughts on real issues. You know, everybody can have their own interpretation on corporate greed and, you know, existential existence and that kind of thing, but you know, also kind of a dark satire, and I think that it was expertly executed here. You know, they took, you know, a piece from something great, and they made it their own thing. You know, like some of the funniest scenes. I'm going to it's the audio wouldn't really translate, but another scene I'm going to to put up for sure is the one where the girls have their first, like, basically it's like the first Fight Club meeting, and it is so hilarious. Like, just every interaction, like every line, like the editing is just, it's just amazing. It's just like comedy genius. And I'm so glad that good comedies are so rare, at least for me. You know, like there are very few. To me, they're like horror movies. Like I'm very particular about what kind of horror movies I like and like what kind of comedies I get into. So for me, like Bottoms was super refreshing, and that's really all there is to say about it. So like I say, highly recommend it. It's available on streaming. I'll put that link to the Just Watch. Well, I'll just say it's justwatch.com, but I'll put it in the description, so you have a place to go to figure out the best place for you to stream it if you so choose. So, one thing I also wanted to mention. This is totally random, but I'll also put this up. I made an email for the podcast, so I'd really like it to be more of a conversation, than just me like talking into the void. If there's any films that you'd like me to review and discuss on the podcast, or questions about like literally anything, I'm gonna put up the email. It is thanoswasright.lucid@gmail.com. I'll put it somewhere in the description also. The only other movie I wanted to talk about this week, The Creator, because The Creator is an important film for a couple of different reasons. One, after learning like everything that I've learned in the last year about how films get made in Hollywood, I can't believe, like, we're lucky that this movie even got made. Like, I just like based on the script itself, I can't imagine, like, it had to be one of those projects where Andor did so well, like, and it was so unexpected and so highly regarded that they basically gave Gareth Edwards like a blank check, is my guess, because that's what this film looks like. This was a passion project, because it's a writer-director, but it's from a major studio, has major stars or major actors. Like, I wouldn't say John David Washington's not a star yet, Gemma Chan's not a star yet, but two like very talented like up-and-comers in Hollywood. You have Denzel's son, who's coming off of Tenet and has really been quietly putting in work around Hollywood, like since Ballers with Dwayne Johnson is like when I first remember seeing him. And Gemma Chan, people remember from Eternals, which is, I think, a really good MCU movie. I know people hate it, but it's actually one that I go back to more often than others, because Chloe Zhao, to me, just did an amazing job with it. I understand there's the hand thing that they left in the ocean, but other than that, I'm down for Eternals. But then, like, what I noticed, like, right away, I believe the cinematographer is the same. Hold on, let's confirm that, because I had that in the notes. But okay, yeah. So the cinematographer, it's kind of strange. I remember noticing now that this has two directors of photography or cinematographers listed. But I think the main one is Greg Fraser, because he's also worked on Dune and Rogue One, which was, did I say Andor earlier? I might have said Andor when I meant to say Rogue One. So sorry if I got the two mixed up. But yeah, so Gareth Edwards is back with the same cinematographer from Andor. So it looks very similar, like the texture, the feel, like, and I think what makes it so special is, for a sci-fi film to find that right mix, almost like I'd almost call it the Nolan rule, kind of like the Goldilocks rule, like the perfect mix of like practical or like in-camera stuff versus like CGI. Like, this movie had it. It felt very much like Elysium was another one that it reminded me of, where it's futuristic but it's still grounded, so it feels like very real. Like oh, this could really be what it looks like 50 years from now. So just aesthetically, very, very beautiful to look at. And then the scores by Hans Zimmer, who like has a laundry list of like great films that he scored. So just hearing, it's one of those names, and you probably know a lot of the films that he's done. So like that's what I wanted to say first, was just overall like the aesthetic of the film, the way everything looked, and then the casting. Like when you start seeing really good high quality actors in smaller, like just side roles, like Oppenheimer, for example, or Barbie, or all these big movies that came before in the summer. The Creator is no different. It's got, maybe you won't recognize the name recognition isn't there, but like the quality of actors is. It's like Allison Janney's in this movie, has a big part. Ken Watanabe from The Last Samurai and a bunch of other stuff. Sturgill Simpson. There are really high quality actors in small roles who really bring a lot to the table, like in every scene. And I think that's one of the things that makes this so special, along with like all the others. And then the core of it is the story, and I think that is what is missing from like so many sci-fi movies, that focus on, I think Zack Snyder falls prey to this, where it's like style over substance, and like you can have a movie that looks gorgeous like Sucker Punch, but when you try and watch it, like it doesn't make any kind of like coherent sense. But The Creator, almost positive I'm going to come back and do like probably a deep dive on it, because it's just such a rich canvas that they built for the world. Like you could have, the movie is very self-contained, it definitely is not left open for a sequel, at least not in my mind, or any kind of spin-off, but like it could have been. Like, it's so well done. It centers around AI becoming very important to the human race. Like, basically it becomes like not equals, but well, in some countries, like, and I think that's the genius like behind the story, is that basically it divides the world into East and West, and they have different philosophies on AI. And the West, a nuke goes off. They blame AI, and they want to eradicate all AI on the planet, not just AI in the West or the United States. And the East, in this universe, in the Creator's narrative universe, the East is like, nah, we like our AI, like we treat ours as equals, and so you do you, and like we're gonna keep ours. But the West, like we usually do, decides to impose its will on another country. And to me, that is when I knew that this was something different. Because the beautiful thing about sci-fi is you can do things like this and people don't even really bat an eye at it, because it's just a movie and it's sci-fi and it's it's make-believe. But what it's really doing is it's showing us what we do to other countries. And it might be AI in the film, but it's been human beings, in the last 10 years, 15 years, with drones and smart bombs and, the United States and allies. And I'm not trying to get into a political podcast here, but this is just fact, imposing our will on other countries that disagree with us, and that's basically the core of the story and the setup, and it follows John David Washington, who is, it's not a spoiler because it's literally in the first 10-15 minutes, is a soldier working for the United States. He is tasked with finding, basically the AI's main brain, or main, basically like find the way to shut it down. He's undercover, but falls in love with an AI sympathizer. And so, like, obviously things go bad. The task force that he's a part of, like, bungles the mission. Everything gets messed up, and his wife is killed. And we jump 5 years into the future. And so now the US government has developed a super weapon basically to eradicate AI. They just need to find the AI's super weapon that they're developing. So they need John David Washington's character to go in, find the super weapon, destroy it, so that their super weapon can eradicate all AI on the planet. And so it's just, like I say, it gave me vibes of, you know, all these old movies. They don't really make them anymore. I started trying to think of like really good war movies, but it seems like maybe since like the mid 2000s, like they don't really make war movies as much anymore. But it made me think of specifically Vietnam movies, because that's what this feels like. It felt like Apocalypse Now, but like a sci-fi version. Casualties of War, which is a one that a lot of people, or Thin Red Line, or something, you know, some of those very like deep as far as theme Vietnam movies that weren't just about guys in the jungle like shooting each other and like that kind of stuff. So overall, like, just to say how good this movie is and all the performances and how just everything came together so perfectly, I told myself about halfway through, like, this is a perfect movie. Like, this is a masterpiece. Gareth Edwards, everyone involved, from the top to the craft services people, the production designers, yeah, you can definitely tell when everything comes together. At least that was my impression. Like, you know, like I said, beginning, middle, end, complex characters, amazing special effects, just the right mix of practical versus generated, and a story that brought me to tears, you know, by the end. And like, what else can you ask for in a cinema experience? And that's what I wanted to mention also, was it was so fun watching this in the theater. One, thinking about it the way I think about it, which is like really nerdy, but sitting next to young kids, you know, and families. This is one normally my son would have probably seen with me, but since he's in another city in college, you know, I was on my own on this one. But it was nice, like, being around younger kids and like hearing their reactions. Like, my feelings on the American soldiers were very different from a young kid who just sees Americans like fighting robots. Like, they're not thinking about like the moral implications of like what's happening. And it's just refreshing, you know. It's nice to be like, oh, I take this so seriously and I'm thinking so hard, but just to see like, oh yeah, you got to remember too, it's just a movie, and it's supposed to be fun. And this movie was fun. Like, it was a tremendous theater experience. Like, I think they were very smart. Like, normally I would complain about movies that go for a PG-13 rating versus an R, but I think it was the right move with this one. They accomplished everything they needed to accomplish, even threw in a few F-bombs in a very, very clever way that kids don't even notice. And like, so again, it was just like everything was so well thought out and so well executed. Like, it's one of the few like 5-star ratings I would give. I haven't rated a movie on Letterboxd in a while, but I'll probably go on there and just put it on for this one, because I honestly hope this movie makes $1 billion worldwide. I'm sure it won't, but I hope that like everyone involved like gets the props that they deserve for this one. I don't think this type of movie ever gets nominated for like Best Picture, Best Director. It might get cinematographer, it may get director. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at Best Adapted Screenplay. Like, it's really that good. So yeah, I can't say enough good things about it. It's one I'm definitely going to come back to. We'll probably do a deep dive on it at some point and reference other films that I mentioned, like Apocalypse Now, Thin Red Line, you know, and kind of really compare it to Vietnam movies, because they're so great. Like, I you know, they don't, like I say, they don't really make them anymore for a lot of reasons, because it's kind of a forgotten war now. I'm just old. But yeah, so I think I basically covered everything, you know, that I wanted to talk about. The only other thing was I'm going to be setting up a Discord. Like I say, I really would love for this to be more of a conversation than just me talking at a microphone. So I will be setting up a Discord and, membership access to it through the YouTube channel, so hopefully we can do some extra stuff there. I might occasionally do like live streams or reaction type stuff if people request it. Can't imagine why, but you never know. You never know what's going to happen. So I think I'm going to leave it there. I hope everyone has a great rest of the week. This was recorded on Monday night, and so it'll be up tomorrow on Tuesday. So like I say, I hope everyone has a great week. Practice, try and do like 1 or 2 self-care things for yourself this week. Like, doesn't have to be expensive, just put thought into it and try and make it something that puts gas in your tank, so to speak. So I will see you guys or talk to you guys next week. Be safe out there.